My advice is just do things that are true to you. You know, most things that I'm involved with are extension of being creative. What we have to be really clear about is, America is built on free enterprise. And being a person of high integrity, people want to deal with you. In business, in the
Trust.
streets, trust and honorable, and a man of your word. All these things come to play in business world. It's always good to compare yourself to people you look up to, right? Because you give yourself a high goal, you set high standards for yourself, and pretty much the way he lived his life and the parallels and how he affected culture is what I strive to do. How he had a record label and he owned Reprise Records and he released Jimi Hendrix. Kanye West is my Jimi Hendrix. My record label is Rockefeller. It felt like I had a bigger responsibility for the culture, to show it in a different light. Most people put out 2 or 3 albums and then, it's like, where are they now? And they VH1 specials and, things like that. Just thought I had a responsibility to the culture to show it in a different light, that we can ascend the executive levels. And because who better to coach the players than the people who played the game? There's an entire nation of people. That's why we have Rock Nation, right? There's an entire nation of people that, I'm a guy from 534, 5C. There was a guy who lived next door to me on top, I lived in the project. So there's a whole nation of people that's seen my struggle. In fact, I got some guys over here from London who are inspiring moguls, and they followed our whole model for Rockefeller. So imagine the reach and, not just the music, the movements of what we've were able to accomplish as, raised a whole generation of, people to want to do better for themselves. So, that's my cross. About a business is recognizing change. The variables are not the same. There's a big thing called the internet. So it changes the landscape of everything. I think the consumption of music is at an all-time high. But as we see, the music business is down. So something has to be done there. It was a time in music where a hit solved everything. You just had a hit. It didn't matter what was going on. Get a hit, and it solved everyone's problem.
Covered a lot of sins.
That's no longer true. Not today. And I think, just having that mentality for so long, I think the music business is still stuck in that place because, I think in business, one of the biggest things is to open yourself up for change. You don't have to change who you are and how you operate, but just, if the landscape is changed, then the way we do business has to change somewhat. We don't have to change who we are. We have to change the way we go about it. Being the president of a company is a thankless job. So you had better do it for the greater good and not for yourself. Because if you have a successful artist, it's just because they did it. If they fail, it's because you. So it's a no-win situation on a personal level. So you have to just be focused on the greater good. And the greater good is getting, great music out there, however, and really just realizing that not everyone's going to be successful. And I guess that's I started, even in my beginning, I just lived such a rich life, a full life, that, my first album came out, I was 26, and I had seen so many things in the street. So my attitude was like, man, I've seen so much, and, I don't have anything to prove. I know who I am. I'm a very self-aware person, so when you're self-aware, even when you're dealing with someone's ego, you know when to allow it to, you allow their ego to, live in its own space. The problem is when you engage that energy, that's when there's a problem. If you engage the ego with your ego, then it's like, okay, now something has to happen. It could keep escalating to a level that can be irreversible. You know, but if you don't engage the ego, if you know how to manipulate or play around with the ego,
but that's weird in itself to people,
and you give light back to darkness,
right?
Fear of failure in some sort of way.
Despite success as a business mogul, as a musician.
Well, as a business mogul, and as anybody who's been successful, you've always, the weight of who you are is on you as well.
Sure.
You know, the weight of all you've done is on you. Yeah, make your first album again, or you know, do that interview like you had with
I understand that.
Pac. You know, I want it to be of that level. You know, it's just it's the weight of who you are. I said in the Kanye remix, do you have the power to get out from up under you? You know, the power to get out from everything you've done. I think what you do for a living is very important to the mindset because, you know, buying Marcy projects, in my opinion, doesn't fix the problem. We have to fix the thinking. You know, projects in the beginning was just, it was like a stopover. Projects were built, well, we know why they were really built, but they were built for, you know, low-income houses until you got enough money and you moved out and you moved to somewhere else. That's the origin of low-income housing, right? And then it became this thing of, you know, I gotta rep my hood. I'm not leaving out of my hood. And I don't think anything is wrong with wanting better or making where you are better. You know, I think it's more of the thinking of and the drive for us to want to do better than represent something that doesn't belong to us. The teacher said, you know what, you're kind of smart. And I believed her. I said, I'm smart, right? So she gave me that sort of opportunity. She sparked the idea in my mind. So that's why my first thing is the scholarship fund, because there are a ton of very intelligent kids that's coming out of these urban areas who can make it all the way if given the opportunity. And so it's a challenge that I gave to my mom, and my mom is so involved with it. Like she gets on the bus and she takes these kids to their to interview with colleges, and you know, now we're starting to see kids graduate from college, and you know, that sort of feeling, you know, when it's real. You know, I'm not just sitting home writing a check and, you know, for whatever reason, to make myself feel good or anything like that. It's something that I really want to do, and I'm really, you know, into and excited about. So.